All right, today we are doing an Ask Me Anything day. So, what questions do you have for me? I'd love to help where I can, and that's what the Builder Photography Business Show is all about. I'm sure you've all got something you'd like to ask about. So, maybe it's a business question, maybe it's feedback on your website or social media content. Whatever it is, you can ask me anything, and I'll share what I can. I'm here to help out. Now, if you don't know who I am, I'm Daryl Stringer. My background is that I ran a photography business for 17 years. For the past 11 years, though, I've been a photo and video business coach where I help amazing people build strong, viable businesses. All right, let's get started here.
It's time for open mic Q&A. Drop a comment or comment live today.
All right, so this is an open mic Q&A. So I'm looking for questions from you. Drop a comment, or if you'd prefer to stay anonymous, you can send me a DM and no one will know it was you who asked. So if anyone has any comments, drop them in. I'm here to chat. Let us know where we can help. I'm just having a quick look around. It looks like everyone's being a little quiet just at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my backup questions. Let me just bring those up here. And hopefully this will prompt some of you with extra questions of your own. So what I've got here are just basically some questions and comments from other photographers. So I just want to go into those with the first question. This is something that I see come up quite a lot. Let me just skip through there. There we go. How do you guys deal with burnouts? I've been working nonstop for 3 weeks, and they went on to say that I feel like I'm at a point where I'm burnt out now. So for those of you watching live, or if you're watching later on, what are your thoughts on managing burnout? What have you done to help manage things in your business? I'd really love to hear from you. So let us know what your thoughts are. For me, I think this goes back to what I've spoken about previously with regard to what your version of success looks like. So focus on your controllables, not the uncontrollables, right? And one of the things that you can control, it's the boundaries that you set for your business. So if you want to take a break on weekends, then don't make yourself available on weekends. Now, if that's the way you want to go, then you could really do this immediately. Like just go to your online booking platform, remove the weekends as an option for when clients can hire you. Or if you currently work weekends, then remove some days during the week if that would help just ease the load and help you manage burnout for a little bit. Like if you only want to work 4 days a week and day 5 is business development day or just a rest day, do that. You're the boss. You can do this if you want to. The second way to deal with burnout is more long term, and that's to build a team. So if you're the only person in your business who can do shoots, then if you want to get burnout under control, you either control your availability or you expand the capacity of what you can do by building a team and get them to a point where they can handle the deliverables, and then you can take time away whenever you want to. Right? Does that make sense? Like if anyone has any follow-up questions on that, then please drop a comment or you're welcome to join me here in the studio. All right, next question. I've reached out to a few realtors with no luck so far. Okay, so this is a real estate photographer. For those of you who have built your business in a new city, what worked for you? Again, for those of you watching live, how would you respond to that? Drop a comment. Let us know what you would recommend or follow that up with a specific question around your business. But here's my thoughts on what I do then in terms of reaching out to agents. If you want more clients, then your dream clients need to know you exist and they need to trust you to deliver the outcomes they need. So the photographer who asked that question said that they've reached out to a few realtors. Now, if by that they mean that they've sent emails to 20 real estate agents with no follow-up, then I'd suggest that they aren't yet doing enough in terms of pure numbers, and they just need to be more active with that. So start reaching out to 300 or 500 agents, and then I think you're going to be getting somewhere. The other thing they could be doing is posting great content on social media every single day. Now, I see a lot of social media profiles for photographers, and so many of them have hardly any activity on social media. And that absolutely is going to have a negative impact. If people don't see content from you on the platforms where those potential clients are spending so much of their day, then how are they going to know about you? So if we go back to this photographer's question, what I'd recommend is to be actively reaching out to agents, maybe 10 or 20 per day, every single day, and do that until the end of the year and into next year. And I'd also recommend posting content on social media across multiple platforms, wherever agents in your market are active, and do those posts every single day. Okay, does that make sense? Right. Again, if you're watching live, drop a comment on this, share your experience, or drop any questions you have, if you need me to clarify anything for you in terms of, how what worked for you in terms of getting new clients, especially if you're working within that the B2B and specifically that real estate photography space. All right, next question. Should I accept an offer to be an in-house photographer for a business? Um, I think we're going to see a lot more of this, as companies just really lean into what's possible with AI. I think this is going to really grow. But whether this is right for you, I think it comes down to, do you want to build your own business and be in control of that business, but then have all of the extra business development issues that go with that? Because to do that, you have to love business, not just photography. Or do you want to build someone else's business and prioritize the photography side? You're then at the whim of the business owner and what they expect from you, but maybe that would allow you to just focus on the creative side of things. And if that's best for you, then that's really awesome. What I'd say, once again, is focus on the controllables and go for the thing that you love to do. So if you're happy working for someone else because then you can maximize creativity and not worry about business, then be an in-house photographer. But if that would frustrate you, then I would persist with your own business. So again, for those of you watching, what would you recommend? Or is this a dilemma you faced? And if so, what decision did you make around that and why? Would you go and work for someone else if the offer was good enough? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that. All right, next question. Should I accept an offer to work for another photographer and be on their team? Okay, so they then went on to say, they're going to pay me like $25 per shoot to start, no mileage reimbursement until after 30 miles. Is that normal? So first of all, this ultimately comes down to what I said about being an in-house photographer. So whether or not it works for you depends on what you love doing. If you're happy running a business, if you love that, then you're not going to enjoy working for someone else if all you're doing is driving around and shooting homes. But also $25 per shoot is awfully low, like really low. But then I'd be wanting to know what the pay per shoot increases to and what benchmarks would a photographer need to hit to reach that increased rate. But this photographer said that it starts at $25. So I'd be asking that business owner more questions for sure, and then only accept the offer to work for them if you're happy with what they put forward in terms of where this goes, as they see you progress and as you move things along. What I want to focus on here, though, is this next question, which is related to that one. And that is, for those with teams, how do you compensate for travel mileage? I'm evaluating a compensation package and just curious what others are doing. So first of all, for those of you watching live, if you have teams or if you've just thought about it, how would you answer that? What would you do, or what have you done in terms of compensating your photographers for travel? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So drop a comment there. In terms of what I'd do, I think I'd put together numbers that you would be happy with if you were a contractor or an employee, and then present that to your team and see if they're happy with it. I'd definitely lean towards the generous end so that you have happy team members who feel well rewarded and well respected, and they'll do better work for you and be happy to stay. Otherwise, you go through a cycle of hiring and rehiring, which is super expensive. So if you need to compensate your team for traveling, be generous, not cheap. I think it works better for you. Like this photographer was thinking if they should even join a team if there's no mileage reimbursement until after 30 miles. And that might be okay if you're paying them well up front, but this photographer is only getting $25 per shoot. So if you were the owner of that business, do you think you're attracting the top talent to your team, or are you attracting the photographers that are desperate for work and will leave your business as soon as they can get a better offer? All right, next question. Let me just jump on here. Does anyone do retainers with teams? I have a meeting this week with the biggest agent in the area. She wants to discuss reserving time each week for her and her team because I book out a week at a time during the busier months and they can get up to 5 to 10 listings a week, but some weeks they only have a couple. Now, for those of you watching, what are your thoughts on this? Drop a comment, send me a DM, let me know what you think. I'm interested in this one. It's a tricky one. Here's my thoughts without sort of knowing a whole lot about this situation. If I were that photographer meeting with an agent to discuss a retainer, I'd think about setting up an automated payment on the first of each month that locks them in for X number of shoots on a set day each week with clear boundaries around what you deliver on those days and clear limits on the days available. If they want to work with you maybe outside those days, maybe they cost extra. So there's flexibility there if the client needs it. But then, we'd make sure that they also pay appropriately for those extras. Now, you can make the cost, like the monthly cost, attractive for them. But I think I would get upfront payment with clear limits and a signed contract so that they understand the boundaries. Okay. So just to give you an example here, maybe for an upfront payment at the start of each month, I'd block out every Tuesday. And for that, they'd get as much as you can fit in on that day. It's basically a day rate, but there's no money back if they don't fill that day with shoots. However, you would be giving them a generous price for that day. So there will be days where they are ahead and there'll be days where you're ahead because they only have 2 listings for you and you're all done before lunch. But again, that's just one option. Interested to hear what your thoughts are. Like what would you offer in that situation? Or maybe you've tried something like this. Did it work for you? Did it not work for you? I'd love to hear any comments that you have. All right, I think that's it. Okay, so now it's your turn. If any of you have any questions, this is where you can ask me anything that's on your mind. And if you're not sure what to ask about, here's a few ideas. You could request feedback on your social media posts. So I could take a look at your account and give you some ideas there if that would help. I know that's a challenge for a lot of you. Or you could request my thoughts on your website or your portfolio. I'd be happy to have a chat about that with you if you just want to ask. I could do my best to answer a question you have about your business or a general business question. So let me know if you've got any questions here about anything to do with your business. I'm happy to answer anything that you have. I'll just sort of wait a bit and see what questions anyone brings up. While we're waiting on that, if you'd like some extra help, feel free to schedule a Zoom call with me, see if my business coaching program could be a good fit for you. I've got 28 years of experience. I've worked with well over 200 photographers in all sorts of markets. And I've almost certainly worked with businesses that are in a similar situation to you and facing the same challenges and issues that you're facing today. And I know to recommend and how to guide businesses through those challenges. I just need you to come to me and say, hey, Daryl, what do I do? And then we can work on a plan together and get your business flying. All right. So back to our open mic Q&A. If you want to ask me anything at all, I'm here to help. I know you've all got something in your business that needs fixing. Every business does. So let us know what you need or send me a DM if you'd rather keep it anonymous. So just looking through, does anyone have any questions? Does anyone want to talk with me live in the studio? You're welcome to do that too, buildaphotographybusiness.com/live. I'm just checking through here in Instagram and I'm just checking other comments in as well. See if anyone has anything there. I'm not seeing any comments just at the moment. So that might be it for today's episode of the Builder Photography Business Show. Again, if anyone does sort of have any final questions for me before we wrap things up, good to see you, Glenn. Glad you've just dropped in. Okay, all right, I'll jump on that. So let me just see. Thanks. Good question. Ideal price points in Sydney. Glenn, I think I would just be saying it's entirely dependent on your numbers. So whenever we go and think about what we want to be pricing ourselves at for our services, yeah, we want to be aware of what else is going on in the market. But I think I sent you the business growth plan. Hopefully that got through to you. Have a look at that formula there where we're working through what we need to be charging for your particular business, rather than just looking at, okay, here's what my competition is doing, I'll undercut that and move in that direction. So work through a pricing formula. Follow-up question from Glenn: how to move from real estate to more builders and architecture clients? Okay, so before you can start working with like builders and architects, first of all, you need a portfolio of content to show them. So that would be the first step. So build that portfolio, show work that you can do. Ideally, build out, some really good examples. And maybe it's even getting some testimonials and things from them to prove your case a little bit there. Then it would be building connections with those architects and builders. So establish, how do you then want to maybe reach out to them and establish trust so they can say yes to hiring you when you put that offer forward. So looking at building connections, are there networking events that you can go to? Do you just need to engage on social media? Is it through Instagram? Where are those builders and architects going to hear about you? That's where I'd be looking at trying to make myself highly visible in those specific locations. And maybe it's being direct, maybe it's phone calls, maybe it's emails, but it could also be social media and networking events and that kind of thing. So first of all, yeah, they need to see your work. Then they need to build connections with you so that they can learn to trust you. And then it's trying to get that, that meeting or something with them where you can talk things through and talk about those particular packages that you want to be offering. So another question there: do you think most real estate photographers add a team member, or most don't, after say 5 years? It varies a lot. I think typically you probably would have enough growth, I think, to warrant that. So normally, within under 5 years, you should be having at least a point where you can afford to do another team member. But at the same time, some photographers don't like handling all of that, and they just want to be a solo operation, and that's okay too. So that's where, again, lean into what it is that you want to do. But if you do want to build a team, then it would just be, again, looking at your pricing. So going back to that question and just making sure that your numbers allow you space, so that you don't want to be, building a client base built off the back of really cheap rates that don't allow you space then to expand and build out a team after that. So if you're just getting started now, I'd be building that out with pricing that allows you the scope to fit in those hires. Follow-up question there: unsure how employee would stay in business or team rather than going freelance with clients I've shared. Look, this would be perhaps I guess one would be a legal question. So work in with, someone with who can provide good legal advice. I can't do that, but what I'd be looking to do would be to have some kind of a non-compete where they're not allowed to work with your clients for a set period of time. I think you'd be able to do that. You can't block people out of the industry altogether, but I think you can. But again, seek legal advice on this around recommending that you have a contract that your team members sign that says from after the point they leave, they're not able to approach or work with companies that have worked with your company for a period of whether 12 months or whatever period of time you're going to go with. The other thing to do, though, then, of course, is to make sure that you're paying your team members so well and that they don't want to leave. So reward them, give them really good conditions, make it a good space for someone who just wants to shoot. So trying to bring in people who want to prioritize the photography side of things, so that they're not inclined to want to go out, and make sure you're paying them well. Usually people want to leave because they go, well, I just hate working for this photography company, just because the rates are so low. Like I was mentioning earlier, a company that was starting off offering $25 per shoot. Now you're not going to keep too many people for long if you're only offering $25 per shoot. Awesome, thank you. No worries, Glenn. Hopefully that's helpful. Just checking in. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? We're here to help you out. If you've got questions about your business, happy to chat again. If anyone wants to chat further, feel free to schedule a meeting with me. We can do that as well. If there's anything that you don't want to share here, we can always have a good chat over there if that's easier for you. Oh, Caleb's just joined in. G'day, Caleb. Glad you could make it here as well. So yeah, as people are just dropping in, let me just say, like, if anyone has any follow-up questions or comments, I'm here to talk with any of you around anything that you might have. Look, Glenn, if you've got any more questions to drop in, I'm happy to help out. So feel free to put them in. I'll wait. There's still some more people dropping by with possibly extra. Howdy, good to see you. Yes, hey Caleb, glad you could pop in. Yep, that's very cool. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, another one there. Like transitioning or adding agent headshots to my work. I have examples already. No experience with big group shots though. Well, again, I would then go back to clients need to be able to see that you can deliver. They need to be confident in what you do. So one, getting those examples of agent headshots, get portfolios, get really, really good at it. So you've got something really strong to be able to show. Purchase the extra gear that you need, the soft boxes and the lighting. Think about whether you're going to be requiring them to come to your studio. Is this something that maybe you could set up as a mobile situation where you could go to any? So I think, Glenn, you're in Sydney. You could then go to any agent's office there and be able to set up in their office and do everything in there. That would work really well for them. In terms of big group shots though, again, get the experience, like practice with family, just set up chairs inside your house and pretend that the chairs are people. Like, work on those skills first so that you can go out being really competent. Then try and get some example shots, just approach a business and say, hey, I want to get some shots for you. Be willing to give away a bit of that so that you've got that portfolio content there so that you can then go to those businesses, say, hey, here's what we're able to do. Here's examples of my work. Otherwise, they're never going to say yes. If they're basically, like, if your pitch to them is, basically, trust me, I can do this. If they can't see what you can do, it's going to be a no. All right. Anyone else have any other questions or comments as I'm checking the different platforms? If anyone has anything else, cool. All right. Follow-up question there. Client has asked to book group shot already, but it's just me being unsure. They want it outside. Okay. Then I would absolutely, like, shooting outside. It can be a little bit tricky. So you'll want to make sure, like, working around the sun. So we don't want, to have them, really squinting, and we don't want really harsh sort of shadows coming over one half. We want them really well lit. So practice outside first. Get some studio or some nice flashes with a lot of power that you can then set up to shoot a group, and practice that before you go and say yes to doing that. So that way you can then rock up to this photo shoot and be really confident with that. There, follow up from North Nest Photo. I offer these as pop-ups at brokerages once per quarter. It's been a good way to build trust with those brokerages and a way to meet their new agents. Yep, good comment. It can work well. It's a good way to be able to get into an office. And if you can get into an office, when you're chasing after agents, it's a good way to be able to meet people and build some trust before they start booking you out for listings and bigger situations. So, yep, thanks, Caleb. Anyone else with any other questions? Again, I'm waiting a little bit as people keep popping in. We started off really quiet here today, and it's kind of come on really well. So let me just wait and see who else pops in with any other questions. Again, let me just go back to, if you're wondering what to ask about, we can do feedback on social media posts, thoughts on website or portfolio, answer a question about your business or a general business question. So if you have any of that to ask about, can absolutely have a chat about any of those things if anything comes up for anyone. So let me just skip back into here again. There we go. Anything else before we wrap up? Just checking around. Comments up here. Not seeing any comments there either. Okay. All right, I think we shall wrap things up. So once again, thank you everyone for joining in. We'll be back here at the exact same time next week. So we will chat with you then. But thanks everyone. We'll see you then. Bye for now.